Well, look, I remain a Remainer. I think that we are better off for geopolitical reasons, actually, more than anything else, being part of the European Union. But, you know, I think, as I say, that ship has sailed. I personally don't think there will be a second referendum. I think that actually the 2016 referendum has been so divisive for the country. The thought, and I think it sits so uneasily with our representative democracy, that I think it would be almost destructive to have a second referendum. I understand the calls for it. I know the calls have come from all sides, from some surprising quarters and everything else. But I do think that this is what Parliament should be doing, should be scrutinising the work of the executive, asking the questions on behalf of constituents, trying to tease out the issues and everything else again. I think what we've seen in the last 12 months is that Brexit is enormously complicated, and trying to boil all of that down to a second referendum, I think would be enormously challenging and would not be good for the health of the nation, actually, the state of the nation. I do think it's right that we should have a deal. I think that we can't just ignore the fact that we have the continent of Europe. We're not going to be members of the EU, but they are very important partners, not least in security matters, which the Prime Minister has made very clear. But many of our businesses, many of our large businesses, have these integrated supply chains across the whole of Europe. The PM has always said, and I remember asking her many months ago about a deal, and she said, I want there to be a deal. And I think that we can be more confident now that there is going to be a deal. Of course, it's a negotiation. We don't know where it's going to end up. And I think that, therefore, the no deal is better than a bad deal language. You definitely hear a lot less of it. But undoubtedly, there are people, both inside Parliament and out, who would much prefer there to be no deal. They think that it's possible to just get up and walk away. But as I say, I think in the course of the last 12 months, it's become clearer that that is much harder to do. The disentangling ourselves from 44 years is going to take time. And actually, if we want to have an ongoing relationship, we need to have a deal. So I think that is one of the things that has changed to the better, in my opinion. I think the honest truth is this is such a huge event for the country that I think she knows that her legacy will be very much determined by the success of the negotiations, the relationship that she's able to agree with the EU going forward. I think probably one of the sadnesses is that she gave a terrific speech on the steps of Downing Street the day she took over, talking about the burning injustices. And I think being able to focus on that is very difficult when you've got something like Brexit on the agenda. So the question is going to be, how is she able to carve out perhaps one or two of those issues that she's able to talk about alongside Brexit? Undoubtedly, the oxygen in Westminster Whitehall is mainly devoted to Brexit. I think that in the last couple of months, what we've seen is the government trying very hard to work on other issues. We've obviously seen Michael Gove and all the environmental announcements. I think Damien Hinds, the new Education Secretary, is trying to do a lot more to make the case for the education reforms and things like his Breakfast Club announcement this week, the Prime Minister on housing and Sajid Javid on obviously the integration strategy. So there is more of an attempt to talk about other things. I mean, undoubtedly we are hampered by not having majority in Parliament. One of the things we miss, I think, as a party is the ability to vote together on non-Brexit issues. But Brexit is huge, and it's huge for the country. It's going to shape where we are as a country for decades to come. So I guess it's right that it is consuming huge amounts of time. I mean, I've been clear, I gave a speech recently in which I said I'd like the Treasury to be given more of a coordinating role, if you like, in pushing forward the domestic agenda. There is life beyond Brexit. It's not going to end on 29th of March 2019. Politics will go on, and we've got to have some answers for that.